Hi, this is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and today is Friday, December the 9th, and we're just going to have a little abbreviated chart lesson today. I didn't trade very long this morning, just took one trade and called it a day. Made a little money and just decided that I was going to call it a day. I wasn't just kind of trying to take it easy during the holiday. It's Friday, we're getting closer to Christmas, so the volume is getting smaller and smaller, and you can see today all the choppy. We've been trending up, but it's been pretty choppy. But I just wanted to kind of do a follow-up to yesterday. If you didn't see yesterday's video yet, you probably want to watch it before you watch this one. But you remember me talking about key entry points and trying to find your support and resistance and getting your lines on your chart and so forth. Just to show you what I was looking at here, I actually had this down here at the open. They make them a little bigger. They're probably hard to see for you. I usually try to, when I'm doing my chart lesson, I usually make them bigger. Just to help you to see what I was seeing. So we pretty much had a, this was the range I was looking at. We had a trend line coming up through here. It wasn't much. It really was just a two-legged swing in a trading range. So our trend really started off the 830 trend along with it. You could have started it right here and got the same trend line. I started back here and it all still worked out the same. But once I got this trend line, I just copied it and drug a copy of it right up here across the top of the price action. And you can see how that's come into play all day long. And so that's the first thing you want to do when you open your chart is find your support and resistance and try to find your trend and see if you can get a channel. And if you can, then it's definitely going to help you with the trade. But I'm always talking about the key entry points, and I'm going to circle those real quick and just show you where the key entry points were today and maybe explain to you why. We got this trend line right after, or just prior to the 8:30 open, right at the 8:30 open. We set this trend line up. We really had a double bottom across here, and this was a pretty good long here because it's a failed second entry short. If you look at it real close, you probably can see that. And so going long here was not a bad move, and that would have got you long. Any runners would have been still going as of now and been worth 14 points or so. So pretty good morning right out of the gate. I exited my runners right up here at this double top and was done for the day. And that's what I would have recommended doing. If you took any runners here, I probably would have taken my money right here at this point and looked to re-enter back down here. But let me show you the key entry points. See if you can see them and understand why before I explain them to you. They would have been here, here, here. And so that's the three key entry points of the day, and hopefully you understand. I mean, it should be pretty obvious as to why those are key entry points. Look at this short right here coming off this failed break above this double top right at the upper trend channel line. It's a nice bearish reversal bar right there, going short right under that, and you could have rode that back down. Now normally I always tell people don't counter trend trade. So if you weren't counter trend trading, really the best entry was right here. And again, any runners would have survived off of this entry right here. You can see prices went higher from right there. Any runners would have survived, so you'd still be long runners off of that key entry point. There's some secondary key entry points as well. Here's one. Here's one. And that's really about it. There hasn't been a lot of really good entries today. That would have been the only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would have been the only 5 entries that actually this one was not bad right here. So maybe 6 because that's a little two-legged move back. That's the first break of the EMA since 9:30. So odds are we're going to get a retest, which we did have right here. You can see and prices really struggled on that retest. And the reason we're probably not going to go higher, we could go higher here. I'm not going to say because we're not. My guess is until we touch this lower side of this trend line, prices are not really going to gain a lot of momentum again because we've come off the top and we've never come back down and tested the trend line again, and that's generally what will happen. So my guess is the market's been strong enough. There's not been enough sellers that we just haven't been able to get down there, but we're working down there, and by the time we get down there, it may be way up here someplace. But until we come back and touch this trend line, I'm thinking we're probably not going to go. We're not going to get a big strong move to the upside. But hopefully you can see these key entry points. The reason these three are the main key ones is because they're at the support and the resistance. And remember, a trend line is nothing more than support and resistance at an angle. Just like these, they're just as important as these flat support and resistance areas. But even if you didn't have your trend channel or your trend line in place, you should have been able to see this setup right here because of this double top over here. You should have known we're looking for resistance here. And when we got this little double, when we got this little double top right across there and prices broke up right there, one tick higher, right there, that was a trap. And when that reversed and closed on its low, you could have gone short right there and rode that all the way down. So that was okay to trade. That was a counter trend trade, but it was okay to take it for the reasons I just showed you. And then when we came down here, you could have entered right here, but most of the time it's best to wait on a second entry down here, but sometimes this will bounce and take off. So if you did enter right here, this one was iffy, and the reason that you probably wouldn't enter right here is because of these three overlapping bars. At least one of them is a doji, and we all know what that means. That means this is congestion, and so that's not a great place to be entering really right there. So we needed to wait on a trap, and you can see we had this move down right here. We broke below the trend line right there, and then had that bullish reversal bar. So going long right there was the place to go. And that also is a second entry long. You got your pullback, you got your new low, you moved up, you pulled back, you moved up a first entry, pulled back, and then moved up second entry. So really that was the second entry right there. So you could have entered on either of those bars, but if you entered right here, there's a possibility you got stopped out, and there were all these overlapping bars right here as well. So by waiting on this trap, once you get congestion, really what you have to do is wait on a trap. And that's what this little tick lower right here was a trap. And this one could have been viewed as a trap too. But as long as you used your 2-point stop or kept your stop below this low right here, even if you entered right here, you were okay. But this was the better entry right here. And that's obvious now because you see how prices rocketed off. But anyway, you want to watch and look for entries on these key entry points. And going back to this entry right here, let's say you did enter right here above this bar and you put your stop one tick below this one. If you got stopped out, when that thing reversed again, you know, sometimes you just have to re-enter. And, you know, sometimes, usually what I will do is I keep my stop at least a tick or two below the low, or I keep it at, you know, if it's too far, I just keep my hard 2-point stop. But what I would do, even if I tighten it here, I probably wouldn't tighten it one tick, I would tighten it two, just in case it's going to be a trap like that was right there. Because usually the trap will be a one ticker. It'll tick down, and then it'll immediately reverse, and it'll move back up fast and close on its high. When that happens, that's a good signal that you're probably in a trap. So that's just some things to keep in mind about congestion and so forth. Anytime you see three or more overlapping bars like this right here or right in here, it's suspect entering in that without a trap. And so it's just best to stay out of it and wait on that trap. But if you go over to these two, these are both second entry longs. Here's your trap down here. You tried to go lower twice. You broke below that double bottom twice and failed both times. Same thing right here. You broke lower right there, failed, and turned up. And we weren't quite to the trend channel line if you had that drawn and in place. So anyway, hopefully this kind of carries over from our lesson from yesterday. Study these two videos. Hopefully they'll help you to see something. And we're going to call it a week and a weekend. And I may or may not trade a lot next week. We'll just kind of have to see how the week goes. But as we get closer to Christmas, I'm going to take more and more time off. But a lot of times, even when I'm taking the day off, I get bored for an hour or two. And if I do, I'll still come in and maybe do a chart lesson for you, just so that we got some fresh stuff, something that I know a lot of y'all are probably going to have some spare time over the holidays too, and you might want to study some of this stuff. But if there's not a fresh video one day, go back and look at one of the important videos from the past and study it and watch it. And that's the only way you're going to get better at this stuff is doing the study. And you can see how slow this market is right now. It's 1 o'clock on a Friday in the pre-Christmas season, and you can see they're just not. This thing's not even moving, and that's rare for the ES. So taking any trades now is probably suspect. You're likely to get trapped until we come back and test this trend line down here. There's no way I'd be thinking about going long yet, even though prices may break out of here and go higher. So, but anyway, I'm gonna wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. Hope everybody had a good week, and we'll see you next week sometime.